Hi guys, let's talk about clauses that we can put in a marital settlement agreement as part of the divorce, but they're very unusual. Number one, boyfriend clause. Let's say someone is cheating and the other spouse, the out spouse, who agrees to sign the marital settlement agreement and allow the cheating spouse to keep the home because of the children, that spouse can say, if your boyfriend or girlfriend moves in, you have to move out of the house. Because typically in a divorce, if there is a home, then both parties eventually would have to sell the home if they're not able to afford to buy each other out. But a deferred sale could be possible because, let's say, the children are going to school and it's close and convenient, and selling the home would disrupt their stability. Therefore, spouses can agree to keep the home and not sell it and defer the sale, or let one spouse stay for X amount of time in exchange for certain things. And these things could be no boyfriend or girlfriend can move in. Second clause, you date, you wait, meaning the spouses can agree that a new partner cannot be introduced to a child or children unless they know each other for at least 6 months to 1 year, and they can specify the time. That way it creates stability for the children not to get introduced to partners of another spouse where there is no stability yet in the relationship. A third clause, if you trash me online, you pay. One bad Instagram post can cost you $5,000. No disparagement online. Sometimes when people go through divorce and emotions are high and they are upset, they sometimes involve other people, family, friends, and resort to unfortunate step to go online, Facebook, Instagram, to disparage the other spouse. It can be regulated in the marital settlement agreement and enforced in court if there is a violation. Another clause is if the spouse decides to, let's say, move in a romantic partner, then typically the spouse who is paying spousal support could ask that support is modified because the romantic partner is supporting that spouse because they now live together. Maybe they share rent but how do we know that the romantic partner is wealthy or financially capable of paying the rent or doing anything financially supportive? Well, we don't know. That's why the law says we shift the burden to the spouse who is with that romantic partner and who is receiving the support to prove that that romantic partner is not helping. So basically the burden of proof is on the other spouse receiving support. Now, marital settlement agreement could say, I don't want to go through this exercise of I'm filing the motion, I'm finding out that you have a romantic partner, and now we have to go through this burden of proof shifting game. Let's put it this way. In marital settlement agreement, we could say that as soon as the spousal support receiving spouse cohabitates with a romantic partner, support terminates, period. That's a modification of California law because it's modifying factor, not terminating factor.
I created this book to help you understand the divorce process without getting lost or without getting a heart attack. You can buy it on Amazon in all formats, including audio format.
We can also put a clause about pets. We could say a whole paragraph about who takes care of the pet, the pet is treated as property, but also as almost like a child. So the custody, visitation, the care, everything can be described in the marital settlement agreement. And how the costs are going to be split. Are they going to be 50-50 or proportionately to the income? College. In California law, as we know, parents don't have to pay for college because at some point parents are no longer on the hook. But they could agree that they both will contribute a certain amount of money. For example, why would they agree to it? Because they know if one spouse is pro college education, the other spouse is not, but also doesn't mind that the children, of course, go to college because it's in their best interest to be educated and self-sufficient, then they could agree that both of them are going to be contributing potentially proportionately to their income. So it's not 50-50. So it's got to be winnable for both spouses situation. The spouse who makes a lot of money might think, oh, I will pay 100%. But if that 100% is not enough, meaning if that spouse doesn't make enough to cover 100%, then they might come to an agreement to do some deal where they pay a certain percentage. After divorce, both parties can also agree that the children cannot be moved out of certain radius where they live right now. For example, without court's consent or written agreement. For example, if divorce is filed, the baseline law is there is automatic restraining order where neither spouse is allowed to take the children out of the state. It doesn't say within counties of California, so the state is pretty wide, and parents can move within the state. However, the divorce agreement, the marital settlement agreement, can define a radius, because if one parent moves within outside of that radius, the other parent's visitation is going to be changed automatically. And so it creates a conflict. And that conflict can be prevented by putting this clause in place. And finally, silence is golden, NDA in a divorce, where spouses don't want certain information about their finances, about anything related to their children to come out outside of this divorce proceedings, recommend to have an NDA clause, non-disclosure clause. These are the unusual, not standard type of marital settlement agreement clauses that I thought to talk about today. Hope that was helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!